All right, hi everybody, and thank you so much for coming on Zoom today so we can talk a little bit about your experience at Booth and where you are now. Just so while we get started, can we go around and just introduce ourselves and just tell me where you were from, what program you took, and what you're doing now?
Sure, I'll start. My name is Emma McNeilly. I studied at Booth in the business department. I got my BBA and Bachelor's of Business Administration, and I currently live in Winnipeg, although I'm not from there. I'm actually from Burlington, Ontario. I moved out here for school, and then I met my husband and stayed. And so right now, my husband and I are living here in Winnipeg, and I currently work as a accountant / leasing agent at a property management firm.
I'll go next. My name is Laura Hepditch. I graduated from Booth in 2018 with a Bachelor of Arts degree in religion. I'm from Newfoundland. I'm an officer's kid, so I move around a lot. And right now I'm currently living in Red Deer, Alberta. I'm studying remotely at Yale Divinity School, going for my Master of Arts in Religion with a concentration on the Hebrew Bible.
And I'm Caitlyn. I graduated from Booth January 2020, so just last year, with my BSW. I'm also an officer's kid, so home is really relative. I had moved from Hawaii to Winnipeg, which was brutal. And then now I'm living in Vancouver, BC, and working at an organization called Boundless Vancouver with the Salvation Army as their youth and families coordinator.
Very cool. Thank you so much, guys. So why did you choose to study at Booth?
Can answer that. If I'm being completely honest, it was not my first choice. I had applied to a few different schools and actually was planning on studying at Carleton and had gotten accepted there, but when I started to make those decisions, my mom just said, pray about your decision and we'll support you wherever you go. So I did, and my heart completely changed towards going to Booth, and that is saying a lot. And so after a few other different things that kind of came up, I decided to attend Booth, and yeah, it's a lot less of a traditional route of how I got there.
For me, the decision to study at Booth was a little more obvious because my mother had gone in the 90s, so I always knew about Booth, and that was really the only university experience I kind of associated with going into my grade 12 year and kind of thinking about university. But when I went to BoothBound and kind of saw the learning experience there and kind of met some of the professors, that's when I really realized that this is where I wanted to be.
For me, I had a choice. I already kind of knew that I wanted to go to a Christian university. I was living in Ontario, so we have one right down the road in Redeemer. And I grew up as a Salvationist, so I knew about Booth growing up. So my family and I decided to kind of compare the costs, compare the education. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, but I knew that I enjoyed business. And so it actually came down to the idea that it actually was cheaper with the scholarship program that Booth had for me to fly to Winnipeg and live in dorms than it would be for me to live at home and drive a car into Redeemer University. So that's what I decided to do. I took the plunge and I came out here and never regretted it.
Mm-hmm. So what was your favorite part, or what was something you really enjoyed about studying at Booth or living at Booth, or what was a highlight?
I'll start this time. As I predicted, during BoothBound, I think I had really meaningful relationships with professors because the classes were so small and the school was so small that you could meet everyone really easily. I just remember having lunch with, professors in the Booth Bistro and just kind of meeting everybody really quickly, having close relationships with the people in residence. I felt like that was such a meaningful experience for me and really shaped me, as a person, and being able to continue my studies, just being able to talk to your professors like real people it was really wonderful.
Ditto on the small classes. That was huge, especially for someone that's an introvert. You feel way more comfortable asking questions, getting to know your professors. From a BSW point of view, like with the social work, I loved how hands-on and practical things were. I've talked to a lot of friends from different schools who have done their social work degree, and there's a huge emphasis on theory, which is important, and like Booth does that as well, but we also kind of balance that out with practicing those theories and like getting tangible, I guess, learning in that sense. So filming and practicing these skills. And that was instrumental in my learning. Like that really drove in what I was learning, and that it stuck with me afterwards. So that was huge.
I'm going to further endorse that. I loved my class sizes. So the program that I'm in is quite small. And so I had classes where it was just me and a few students with the teachers, and I was able to really pick their brain. And also the teachers really did care. And I think that's what really inspired me, was like, there was some times where I was going through a not a great situation and they could tell, and they were like, are you doing okay? Is there anything that we can do to help? Is there something like a study guide that we need? And you could tell when the class wasn't doing well, and then they would help and adjust their teaching to be able to get more students to understand the content. And so with the small program and the SAT classes that we have, it just felt more like I was actually learning and being able to apply that to the real world compared to just learning it in the textbook.
Those are really great answers. What about something meaningful or a highlight about being a Salvationist on campus? Any thoughts there?
I'll start. I think getting to find your core. So Winnipeg has 6 cores now. And they all offer a very unique community. They all kind of are known for their own little things. And so finding where you feel the most at home. If you wanted to go to the big band with the songsters, you would go to Heritage. If you wanted to sit down at coffee tables and have a conversation, you'd go to Wiedema. And so it just broadened your understanding of the Army, because there's not just one corps, but there's 6.
I think for me too, what came to my mind was just having the support from the school to be engaged in church programs. So I was really involved in several different youth ministries at the corps I attended. And after I graduated, I actually ended up working for 2 years as the children and youth ministry coordinator there. And I think in large part it was because I had already gained some relationships with those kids. I had already gotten to know and love the corps members and really make it like my church family. And to me, that was so influential that I had transportation to get to my corps, and I was provided that by my school, and it was encouraged as part of, the Salvationist scholarship, but also just your professors want to know about what you're doing at your church and want to know more about your experience in Winnipeg as a whole. And so, yeah, I think that really formed my experience as a Salvationist at Booth.
And just going off of what we talked about earlier with the smaller school size, I appreciated that because it really it formed my faith in a unique way, in that my peers and I could kind of develop from the bottom up, so like grassroots, I guess, different parts to form our faith. So whether it be like leading worship nights or creating like a small residence Bible study, there was just unique ways to grow in leadership, as well as kind of both evangelism, but also discipleship with each other. And so that was something I don't think I would have gotten anywhere else.
Last question, if you could say one thing to potential Booth UC Salvationist students, what would you want them to know?
Think of a piece of advice that I would give them is just take every opportunity that's afforded to you to be involved in the community of Booth. I feel like that was really rewarding, that I was working at Booth sometimes, and other times I'd be helping out with different events or orientations and things, and just being engaged and getting to know that community was so rewarding for me. So definitely, do as much as you can, help out at your church, or just be active in the school, and you're fed that way, you spiritually grow that way. So that would just be the piece of advice I give them.
I would say that if you can afford it, I would say live on dorms for your first year. I think a lot of foundational relationships that I formed with some of my best friends was at that first year of being at school, and it kind of just brought a whole new aspect to university, because now you have people to study with that are in your program, or you have different people coming from all walks of life, and it just really ties that bond for you for being in school and having that support and community.
Don't know if I'm interpreting this question wrong, so stop me if I am, but mine is more towards like potential Booth students like that are considering it. So my message is for the skeptic that was like me. I went to BoothBound just to hang out with friends, and jokes on me because I ended up attending there. So I just say, like, open your heart and your eyes to maybe you will come away with an entirely different appreciation, and find yourself in the same shoes as me. So just, yeah, don't say nothing like, God, you can't force me, because you're gonna be tricked.
Well, guys, thank you so much for taking time to chat with us today and joining us for this little bit of BoothBound. We really appreciate hearing your stories, and we really are so proud to have you as alumni. So yeah, thank you guys so much.